Hey everyone, it's Nancy, and this is the teaser for a very special anniversary episode of Dead Sleep. It is subscriber only for a really special reason. I started this podcast a year ago, and now more than 52 episodes later, this podcast is still going strong, doing my best to tell you great true crime stories that are soothing and suspenseful, gripping but never gory, to help y'all fall asleep. I'm giving you a teaser of this megasode, which is a remaster of the first few episodes of Dead Sleep. That was a 5-parter called Fatal Vision. I wanted to go back and improve upon those episodes, knowing what I know now, how to make those episodes sound the best they can be. So, you can still get those episodes individually, the originals that are at the very, very, very beginning of this podcast. But if you subscribe, you have this 2-hour plus remastered, pristine version that's re-edited to flow as one continuous 2-hour plus story for you to fall asleep to. This is a standalone, so there's still a November bonus episode coming in a few days. So if you subscribe now, you get 2 bonus episodes for you to enjoy. You can subscribe via Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Patreon. And if you can't subscribe right now, I get it. But I so appreciate you listening, and I look forward to 52 more episodes coming this year on the podcast. Again, non-subscribers, please enjoy this teaser, and I hope this compels you to become a paid subscriber to the always ad-free Dead Sleep True Crime for Bedtime podcast. Thanks. Wow, it's November 2024, and I can't believe it, but it's been 1 year and over 52 episodes of Dead Sleep True Crime for Bedtime. I'm Nancy Miller, and as you know, I wanted to make this show for years. But you know how it is. You have your real job. Life gets in the way. And then last year, I lost both of my parents. And they unfortunately died from cancer a few months apart. It was obviously a devastating loss. But one thing those losses did manage to do was remind me that you get one life. And it's now or never. So I took some time off and dove into making Dead Sleep. And it's been an incredible experience. And it's subscribers like you who make this show possible. And I do not take it for granted. Thank you so much for your support. And I'm so excited to make 52 more episodes next year as we continue into the second year of the podcast. So this anniversary special is a unique bonus episode. You'll still get another November bonus episode, by the way. This is just a special to celebrate 1 year of hard work. I've done what I've been hoping to do for a while, and that's revisit those early episodes. That's the 5-part saga of Fatal Vision, and knowing what I know now about how to make the show sound great is remastering those old episodes. The executive producer and engineer of the show, that's my creative partner, Greg Beaton, he went back and finessed everything. And we decided to edit those 5 episodes together into one continuous, pristine version of Fatal Vision for you to enjoy all of it in one sitting. So, what you're about to hear is over 2 hours of the Fatal Vision saga that we re-edited, fine-tuned, and remastered for this 1-year anniversary bonus edition. If you heard the first few episodes, those are still there. And feel free to do a compare and contrast about how they sound. But this is kind of like when, I don't know, a director like Stanley Kubrick or Ridley Scott wants to go back in and fine-tune the thing they missed at the first time. This is what we're doing. So I hope you enjoy this Fatal Vision megasode. That's over 2 hours of a continuous story, remastered from the original recordings. So enjoy this while I actually work on another bonus episode, and that's the official November bonus, which will be out next week. So subscribers, you get 2 bonus episodes this month as an expression of my deepest gratitude. Thank you. And hope you enjoy Fatal Vision Remastered. Acid is groovy. Kill the pigs. Those were the only words that a handsome young doctor said he heard one night in 1970, right before his wife and children were murdered. Was he the victim or the killer? That's the question at the center of the mind-bending true crime classic turned bedtime story, Fatal Vision. Good evening, and welcome to the first episode of Dead Sleep, True Crime for Bedtime. I'm your host and narrator, Nancy Miller. I'm a journalist, and you might know me from a few other true crime shows, but Dead Sleep is my passion project. Think of Dead Sleep like a cross between Dateline and David Lynch. Real-life mysteries told more mindfully. Stories that are gripping, but not too graphic. True crime classics transformed for nighttime listening. Dead Sleep is dark, and it's different, and it's not for everyone. But if you like to calm your overactive mind with a true crime story before bed, Dead Sleep is made for you. So with that, let's settle into bed. Close our eyes, get cozy under the covers, and get ready to fall dead asleep with Dead Sleep, True Crime for Bedtime. In a story drawn from the mind-bending masterpiece by Joe McGinnis, Fatal Vision. Once upon a time, in a modest red brick house, lived the perfect family. Handsome 26-year-old Jeff McDonald, his beautiful wife Colette, and their 2 daughters, ages 2 and 5. Then, in the early hours of February 17th, 1970, what seemed like the perfect life was destroyed forever when 4 intruders broke into the McDonald home and violently attacked the McDonald family, going from room to room with a bat, a knife, and an ice pick. At least that's how Captain Jeff McDonald remembered the night of February 17th, on an Army base in North Carolina known back then as Fort Bragg. Captain Jeff McDonald had moved with his family to Fort Bragg less than 6 months earlier as a member of the Green Berets. The Green Berets were known as the toughest special forces unit in the United States Army. But that night, when MPs found Captain Jeff, he was a shadow of himself. The Green Beret badass lay on the blood-stained floor of his living room, half naked and shivering next to the body of his wife, Colette. As medics treated him for what appeared to be severe injuries, they learned that Jeff McDonald wasn't your usual Green Beret. He was actually a physician who had recently moved with his family to work at the Army base's medical center. He'd been beaten and stabbed multiple times, he said. Jeff was rushed to the hospital where, fortunately, the doctor said his vitals were pretty normal. He did have a punctured lung, but it wasn't life-threatening. There were also lateral lacerations across his torso that might have come from a sharp knife or an ice pick, maybe even fingernails. There was a bruise on his forehead, but doctors told Jeff he was lucky. He didn't need surgery. He barely needed a Band-Aid. Mentally, though, Jeff was hysterical. In his hospital room, Jeff thrashed about his bed, barely making sense. Where was his wife? He yelled. Where were his 2 little girls? Tell him the truth. Were they dead? The hospital staff told Jeff his family was going to be fine. But that was a lie, told to Jeff so he'd calm down until he could be sedated. But within a few hours, Jeff, along with everyone else on the Army base and all over the country, would soon learn the truth. Jeff's wife, Colette, who was 5 months pregnant with their 3rd child, didn't survive the attacks. Their 2 young daughters were also gone. Investigators assumed Jeff wasn't going to make it either. When they learned his injuries were superficial, they were surprised. Why did these intruders brutally kill a young mother and her 2 small children, not Jeff? The truth about what happened to them, how they were killed, why they were killed, and who killed them. The most basic facts around this triple homicide would be argued, analyzed, and litigated hundreds of times by investigators, family members, lawyers, journalists, and the true crime obsessed for decades. Even now, over 40 years later, some believe the full story behind these murders has yet to be told. Back on that morning on February 17th, 1970, investigators only had one version from their only surviving witness, Jeff McDonald. And his version of events went something like this. He'd spent the evening watching TV with his wife, then fell asleep on the couch. Then, out of the thick fog of slumber, he awoke to someone standing over him, attacking him with a wood club. Jeff also heard distant screams of his wife. As he sprang into action, he was stabbed and then hit again, this time in the head, so hard he fell to the ground, unconscious. When he came to, he said he frantically checked on his wife and kids. They didn't have pulses. He made it to the kitchen phone. There were only landlines back then, and he called for help. Then he collapsed next to his wife in the living room just before the military police arrived. Jeff said he remembered at some point his wife screaming, "Jeff, why are they doing this to me?" Investigators were eager to find that out too. Why would anyone do this? But first, they needed to find out who did this. Jeff shared bits and pieces from that night, flashes of faces and moments that, as the authorities cobbled it together, led to one name. A name that police knew. A name that everybody all over the world knew. Charles Manson.